I've been recently getting over just like a mental hurdle, and I guess the thing that really got me through that was kind of just talking to chat about it, because I had something going on for like easily a month and a half, where even like during like the most successful time of my stream, I was like, I had this like thing of like, self-doubt and all these like weird things going on where it's really it can be really stressful full-time streaming, because you're kind of like, this is like all that you do, so like any negative thought can just build and build and build, you know what I mean? And that's even during the most, like I said, literally the most successful time on Twitch I've ever had. I was still going through this phase of like, am I doing the right thing?
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Stream Key Podcast. It's Friday. I am Greencord, the marketing and media director here at TRUgaming, and this is our weekly show where we help you level up your stream by having a panel of guests where we talk through your questions and comments and news in streaming over the past week. This week we have 3 guests, one of which is brand new to the show, who's a new True partner, and that is Dwarrow Scholar. Dwarrow, how you doing today, man?
All good. Cheers. I've got a day off, so hey, great start already, I would say. So yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. What time is it in Belgium right now for you?
It is 5 p.m.-ish.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, thank you for being on the show, man. We appreciate it. And coming back to the show for the third time, Glock 9. How's it going, man?
Doing very well. I'm just very tired.
All night while streaming. I can understand that.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, dude. And last but not least is Veli, looking a bit different this week. Vel, no, nothing's changed.
No, light's different. No, that's probably it.
Sorry, that's what I meant there.
How's
it going, man?
It's going very well, man. How you doing today?
Pretty good. Thank you guys for coming out. So if you've not seen the show before, the way this works is the first actually 5-10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and meet Dwarrow a little bit, since he's brand new to the show, has not been on before. And then after that, for maybe 20 minutes, we're going to go through news. There's a lot of big news this week, including some currency leaks for Twitch, which is really cool. I want to talk about that a lot. And the last hour and a half will be calls and questions from you guys. So you can either call into the show via Discord or just ask questions via chat. We'll go through and talk about your questions on the panel. It can be anything from personal questions with your stream to what we think of news topics out there. So that's the show. First of all, let's go ahead and meet Dwarrow really quickly. Dwarrow, can you kind of tell us more about how you started streaming, what kind of content you stream, and anything else in there?
Sure. So yeah, most folks actually, well, you're right on the money. Most folks call me Dwarrow, although my real name being Roy. I've been streaming since, I don't know, 10 months now, so I'm relatively new to streaming. I have been doing any dwarf-related content for years, really, so that's the kind of the theme of my stream. So I've got a site, dwarrowscholar.com, Tumblr page, and other media, where I try to answer questions related to the words of Tolkien or those of Old Norse and Germanic legends, which is what's been my thing, I guess, for years. So when I stream, my staple is Lord of the Rings Online. It's a niche, yes, but I love it, and that's what I stream. Though, yeah, I stream all sorts of dwarf-related games, really. Dwarrow means dwarf in Tolkien's universe, so that's my passion. Yeah, we poke fun at it on the stream as well, which is fine, all good. And I guess what drove me into streaming, I guess many of us, I love gaming ever since I was a kid. So, streaming or sharing and trying to share that passion was kind of like a natural progression. This way I can share my passion for gaming and literature and words. So yeah, I learned about TRUgaming through Britwolf, which is another TRUgaming partner, and then recently joined this community. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I could tell when I first found you, the kind of similarities even between you and Brit with your content a little bit. So that's pretty cool to see. And so you said about 10 months you've been on Twitch?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay. Were you doing stuff before Twitch, or did that sort of start everything?
Streaming wise, no, that's it. I mean, I have been posting YouTube content, although I gotta say that has been has lessened in the last couple of years, but which was mainly like, dwarvish lessons and stuff like that. So,
Gotcha. Are you mostly doing game streaming during your streams, or do you do other things on there as well?
at times, just chatting. Then we focus on tokens lore and stuff like that, but it's kind of rare. It mainly is okay. Sometimes we do a bit of WoW. Sometimes we do Lacho, any dwarf related game, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's the focus.
Gotcha. My brother is huge into the whole Tolkien universe and language and all that, so it's funny to hear about that. But WoW is interesting because I know you actually asked a question about WoW on here last week, and Glock apparently has been playing for 24 hours straight, which is why he's so tired. Okay. Let's go ahead and transition this a little bit into WoW just really quickly, because huge game this week, of course. Most people are streaming it. A lot of the huge streamers that even aren't known for World of Warcraft are streaming it this week. I want to give you guys a chance to talk about your thoughts on it so far. Dwarrow, have you streamed WoW Classic this week?
I have not. I was actually planning on doing that yesterday, but kind of fell through on the technical side for somebody that joins me normally on the WoW stream. So sadly, that didn't happen. But we will be doing that anytime soon. So yeah, and we kind of plan on doing a bit of a extended stream to kind of make up for it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
But sadly, not yet. No.
Yeah, let me read off a tweet from actually Tim, which is one of the news pieces I want to cover this week. Tim the Tapman. He made a tweet about the numbers of WoW, which I thought was interesting to talk about since we talk about this a lot on the show. He said, I want to send out this tweet for anyone that wants to stream Classic WoW but is worried about numbers. Classic will never re-release. This won't happen again. If you're a fan or love Classic, try to enjoy the moment and don't worry about the numbers. So I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on this statement, but also WoW streaming in general. I'll throw this to Glock next, because you have been streaming WoW. What do you kind of think of WoW streaming and what Tim said in general?
Well, I mean, I say all the time where, number one, me personally, I don't worry about numbers anyways. But I mean, everyone that is streaming WoW is absolutely dipping numbers because, number one, World of Warcraft is a great game and it's very fun to level and do that grind, but it's not a very viewer friendly game. It's not fun for viewers to like sit there and watch you run 2 miles to just drop off a quest and stuff like that. So your numbers are going to drop, but like I said, it's a huge moment for the game, and it also shows the huge fan base it's had for the last 15 years. And I think it also brings new people to the game because you're basically playing the game where it was first released, and it's the best time to start the game. Because now they do a thing where you just jump into a game, you automatically get 100, level 110, and you have like 30 spells to learn how to use. So now you start off at the beginning, you get to play it like it was just released. So
gotcha.
I think it's great
for sure. So you're still doing it despite knowing that the numbers might not be there, just to enjoy the experience.
Oh yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite games, and I was just telling people this morning the reason why I'm playing. I'm so excited to play was when I first started playing that game. I used to play on a Mac, the Mac Mini, the little mini tiny little Mac. Yeah, I used to play with the graphic settings on level 1. I can barely see my hand in front of my face. Now I'm playing it on a PC, and it's like a brand new game to me. It's not for what I remember when I was playing when I was in 8th grade. So
that's awesome. Vel, I'll throw this to you next. You're a big fan of Tim's. I also want to give you the angle of, I think some people may feel like this is easy for Tim to say, being such a huge streamer that it doesn't really matter what he streams, people are still going to watch him. Do you think that like maybe he's a little bit out of touch here, or do you think it still kind of applies to everybody in general?
I think it still applies. I mean, he's absolutely right that people shouldn't worry about the numbers. We say that all the time with everything. It's not just about World of Warcraft or anything. It's about just streaming in general. Like, stream, have fun, do your thing. And he's absolutely right with a game like this. Like, if you are a huge fan of World of Warcraft, like, this is only going to happen right now. Like, so might as well get in on it and just have fun while you can, because you can go back to doing your other thing after the hype dies down a little bit.
Yeah, we do talk about that a lot. I mean, it's all about finding the thing that you love and then building an audience around that, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Dwarrow, it sounds like you didn't stream WoW just because plans kind of fell through, but do you have any thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, I mean, Tim the Tapman, he's going to have the numbers anyway, really. But what he says is true, though. If it's a game you love, you just got to play it, and that's it. And plus your passion is going to shine through when you stream it anyway, I think. And people watching that will probably stick around longer because they see you've got a passion for it, and you love what you're streaming, and that's it. Yeah, streaming something just because numbers are high, and actually I think that's a reverse effect in this kind of case, because you've got so many people streaming it. If you look at the recommended channels on Twitch, it's like wow, nothing but that.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. So okay, it's a bigger pie, a lot of people watching, but everybody's getting a small slice of that. So yeah, just if you love what you stream it, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I just want to cover that because I thought that was cool to see Tim specifically talking about numbers. I feel like we don't really see that much from bigger streamers. So let's jump into the rest of the news now, into some of the bigger things this week. The biggest thing of which I think is there was a leak that came out of, well, I don't know if it's really a leak because I guess they're beta testing stuff with it, with select streamers, but basically Twitch is developing its own channel points system, similar to, if you're familiar with Mixer, they have the Spark system where you earn points over time by watching. There are a lot of chatbots that do this already, but this would be a native thing on Twitch that's on every channel that's across the platform. So basically, it looks like it's going to roll out on October 15th for everyone based on some of the screenshots we've seen. I will link a video with a quick run through of some of those things if you want to see that. I also tweeted out some images if you guys want to look at that. Basically, it's a couple of things that came out. First, it's channel points, which you earn just like Mixer over time by watching. You can redeem those for different things in the channel. So examples could be you unlock one emote from that streamer, or I don't remember all the examples, but there's quite a few things you can use the points on. But there was also a couple other things that got leaked, one of which was polls, so another built-in polling system for Twitch. You don't have to use a straw poll anymore. And stuccos, which are kind of still up in the air as to what they are, but it seems like they're kind of enhanced bit badge features where if you've donated a certain amount of bits, you can choose a stucco to use on the profile, and they look different than bit badges. So I'm not sure exactly what that'll look like, but all this stuff looks very official from Twitch based on the leaks that we've seen. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on all these developments, points, stuccos, and polls. Dwarrow, what do you kind of think of these leaks coming out?
Well, I think it's interesting in many ways. The loyalty currency thing is not really a new thing for Twitch, but it is the way they want to introduce it now, I think. I mean, a lot of streamers have their own loyalty currency, if you will, but that is to reward the viewers mainly. While here, this currency supports the streamer more directly. So that is already an interesting thing. Then, well, I don't know. It seems like there's it's a response to Mixer getting a bit more attention now. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the feeling I have here. I mean, Twitch still rules Streamland, if you will, but I think they're starting to feel the heat of an up-and-comer. I feel that since Ninja moved to Mixer, a lot of streamers are exploring the platform, in addition to the media giving Mixer a bit more share of the attention. Even though there's 70,000 streamers on Mixer and 1.5 million on Twitch, Twitch still needs to react to this and give back a bit more to streamers, I think, as well. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of a positive kind of vibe coming from Mixer at the moment, a positive momentum, and they need to do something. And I think maybe the 50-50 split in sub revenue might not cut it for a lot of streamers. Mm. And the platform is getting a lot of, a bit more, not a lot, but it's getting a bit more negative attention now, and streamers are thinking about options. And the way Mixer is set up at the moment, that's what I think, at least, it's really positive. And the community is embracing this loyal currencies thing that they have in Mixer, and the communities can actually rally behind a streamer's Spark milestones and try to get them to a certain level. Mm-hmm. I mean, the streamer gets money, the community feels good, Mixer gets the spotlight, so it's all positive. And I think, in addition to like embers rather, which are like bits, so there's it does have a good vibe to it. There's a lot of people who want to support creators, but not everybody who wants to can financially. Mm-hmm. So this kind of currency is excellent for that. I mean, there are tools out there like Loots, that enable folks to support the streamer, but not every streamer wants to have like big ads on their, covering their stream. So with this, you can actually support your streamer without having to, put your buck down, if you will. And then it's a good system for that, and it's a positive system, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially since it's built into the platform as opposed to some external chatbot that you have to use. I think that's huge. Glock, do you have any thoughts on the points or maybe the polls or stuccos coming out of these leaks?
Nothing specifically about the polls with the stuccos and all that stuff, but it's one of the things that we talked about when Ninja first moved was what's Twitch gonna do, and this is kind of showing that they're like, oh, we gotta do something. Like I don't think they're worried about Mixer taking over, but they know that they need to do something, to excite streamers and stuff like that, which is why I'm also very excited that I will actually be able to attend TwitchCon and see what they're gonna roll out there, because I want to see what's coming there.
Yeah.
So it's that's just what we know that got leaked. I want to know what else is coming, because they're obviously thinking.
Right. Making some changes. That was actually one of the things I put in my tweet was I think this will kind of be the big selling point of TwitchCon this year. I mean, there could be other things. We have to wait and see, but this seems like a big enough change that's fundamental across every channel on the platform that they'd put a big focus on this that year. Vel, what are your thoughts on all this stuff that came out the leak?
I think it's cool they're starting to implement things that Mixer is doing really well. I'm excited to see. Mainly, I'm just excited to see what they do to kind of innovate rather than play catch up. Like, because like anything new, because like they can copy other ideas all day. You know what I mean? And I can imagine that it does take a long time to implement these things, but for them to do new things that other platforms aren't doing, I think will be awesome. So like it's cool that they're doing the same thing other people are doing that was great for other platforms. But I would like to see some more creativity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I think the stuccos thing is interesting. I mean, if it's just another bit badge system, I'm not that excited for it. But some of the images they leaked out were like kind of, I don't know, pop-up type images. So we'll have to see what that looks like. And the poll system, having a built-in poll system could be nice, I think, because I think there are a lot of scenarios where you want to poll your community on things. And maybe if you have something built in, that's just more opportunity to do that, because people don't have to go to an external website or something. They can just click right there to be a part of it. So I'm excited to see it, but we'll keep an eye on these leaks and see if anything else comes out. Like I said, it looks like this, by the way, this is out for partners and affiliates. I saw some people worrying that it was just for partners. There are affiliates that have been invited to test it as well. So it will probably be something for at least both of those, if not all streamers on the platform. I would think they would put channel points on every channel, to be honest, just because it seems like such a built-in thing, but I don't know. We'll see. We also don't know if we get a payout from the point system. I want to make that clear too. Just because like that's how Mixer does it. We don't know the details of how exactly it all works with the point system. So we'll have to see how they roll it out. We just know that they are working on a point system. We don't know the details of the execution for the streamer side. But okay, that's the big thing this week. There's some other things as well. One pretty cool thing to see was I know a lot of our audience is probably not familiar with YouTube as much, but one of the biggest YouTube Fortnite streamers, Nick A30, I think that's how you say that, he moved to Twitch this week in like very similar fashion to Ninja. Made this big announcement about it on Twitter, video, announced he's coming to Twitch. He was, again, one of the biggest YouTube streamers and is now coming to Twitch. So this makes you think, you see these platforms kind of fighting over top streamers now, which is kind of exciting to see. And we don't know, again, the details of how much he got paid or like how long this was in detail, how long this was in the works. Was this like a direct response to the Ninja thing, or was this something that was already going to happen anyway? Dwarrow, do you have any thoughts on this? Did you have a chance to look at it?
I had a chance to look at it. To be honest, I didn't know the guy. I had no idea. But the video, even though I have no idea who he is, I gotta be honest, the video seems very positive. It's again, positive vibe. It seems like for some reason, Twitch is, I'm not saying trying to ignore recent events, quite the opposite, but it seems like they're doing an extra push to get more positivity out. I don't know if this is, if they had some hand in, or in the creative matter of this video. I don't think so, perhaps not, but at least I don't know, there's more push on some positive news coming out. Instead of trying to counter other news, it's more like, at least that's the feeling I'm getting. What you're reading now, these kind of things, it's a streamer, also very family oriented kind of streamer, so makes you think, okay, well, they're trying to cover that segment a bit broader perhaps than what they're doing now with your key streamers on that. So I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, some of the outlets I saw talking about it made that point specifically, that with Ninja gone, Twitch has kind of lost one of their flagship family-friendly streamers. A lot of the top streamers on Twitch probably don't fall in that category, like maybe Tim and Lupo, but I think even they have their moments with that stuff. So Glock, do you have thoughts on maybe just the whole idea of streaming platforms kind of fighting over these top creators now?
Well, I think Ninja kind of started like a little, we're going to see a lot of moving pieces. And, I've seen, so I know who Nick is, and I have a funny feeling that he came over and like someone said in chat, is he could be like the new Ninja. He's super family friendly, and he's a Fortnite streamer, and he actually is. I don't like Fortnite, but I've actually watched him a couple of times just because it pops up on YouTube. He's actually pretty entertaining. But, I've seen, so many people talking about moving to Mixer. I've actually just recently, yesterday, I saw a Twitch streamer move to Facebook Gaming, which is actually weird in my opinion, because I don't know about, but there's gonna be a lot of moving pieces. Just I still think there's probably gonna be someone else from Twitch moving to Mixer as well. I'm waiting for it. I don't know who's gonna be, but you see a lot of streamers moving around, trying out different stuff. I'm waiting for D Live to make a move.
Well, they got PewDiePie, so I mean,
PewDiePie, but
it's a good start. We'll have to see if they follow it up.
Yeah, we'll see.
Man, I've not heard of D Live, anything from D Live in so long. I keep up on the news, but
that's what I was saying. I'm waiting for a surprise announcement.
Yeah, it could happen. One thing I want to mention on this too is one of the reasons he decided moving to Twitch was actually because of esports events, which is kind of interesting. So specifically Twitch Rivals, the fact that Twitch is creating their own esport events that have these big prize pools that streamers can be a part of. It seems like YouTube maybe isn't doing the same sort of focus for gaming. So it'd be interesting to see if platforms like YouTube feel a pressure to create events like that to compete with Twitch. Veli, what do you think of all this and that idea?
I think it's cool. I think it's awesome that, people are starting to realize that big streamers do have a good impact, and that, you can, to be those kind of streamers that people reaching out, like, hey, well, you can come over to this platform, we'll work out a deal with you. Like, that's got to be like a pretty cool feeling to have people kind of fighting over you. Yeah, I think it's cool. I don't know. I don't know. I guess, I just had a brain fart.
Do you think it was do you think it was in response to the Ninja thing, or do you think this was already in motion?
Oh, I definitely think it was in response. Like, it might have already been in motion, but they probably sped it up really quick once they found out Ninja was leaving. I mean, you really need that. Like, you can't take a blow like that and then just not have anything to fire back with. You know what I mean?
Do you think so? One thing about both of these streamers is they both brand themselves as family friendly. Do you think we'll see more streamers kind of try to go that way to work with brands more?
I think so. I mean, as long as the most popular streamers stay family friendly, people are going to try to, replicate that. I definitely think so. Like, I tried to go family friendly once for like 20 seconds, and then I swore, and I was like, well, this isn't it for me. So, but yeah, I definitely think that people will try to stick to that if they see people doing really well with it.
Cool. That was the second big piece of news. Guys, I know there's a lot of questions. We're going to get those in just a minute. I want to cover all the news. There's a lot this week. Last piece of the big news was Mixer revealed a streamer review system this week that essentially all streamers have to go through on the platform. I think there's technically, if you're a console streamer who doesn't use a camera, I think you're okay. But everybody else is going to go through this system where, okay, so I had to understand what this is. Basically, starting on September 5th, you'll have to watch a Mixer safety video. I don't know what that is. And then wait for a 24-hour channel review period. So I think that is required the full 24 hours. And supposedly they're going to review your channel during that time. After that, you can go into your profile and you have to sign a streamer pledge. So I don't know exactly the whole details of what they're looking at here. It's some people seem to like this because I guess the idea is to get people that shouldn't be on Mixer off the platform. In the ways that Twitch has had controversy in the past. Other people think this is very strange. But yeah, basically, this all starts on September 5th. They also are adding some mod tools and things. Glock, what are your thoughts on the Mixer streamer review system?
Well, the review system, okay, but I don't know what a pledge is all about.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's in it, but...
I, Veloc_TV, do solemnly swear.
I quoted the direct. This is directly from their site, so I'm just reporting the news here. I don't know.
Was that the only one thinking of like you sitting there making a video like I swear I will not squat for subs? Is that what it is?
So stupid.
I will not wear short shirts.
Oh. I pledge allegiance to Microsoft. FBI says in the chat.
Oh my god. I think okay. I don't want to rag too hard on this. I can appreciate the idea of what they're doing here. I think the delivery is maybe not the best. The fact that they're labeling it like the streamer pledge. Val, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, I like the fact that they're doing reviews. I think that's great. You know, like if a streamer's being toxic and like it's just, you know, an actual a-hole, like it should be reported. I think that's great. But the watching the video, like being forced to do that to like, you know, like this is what you should do as a streamer, like, and trying to, I don't know, like that, and being reviewed and everything, like I think it goes a little bit too far, because at the end of the day, like the viewers will decide who gets numbers and who deserves support, not a company telling them to, you know, make a pledge. And yeah, I don't know. It's a good thing overall, but a couple of things could be kind of fine-tuned, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I've heard a lot from people with Mixer is the idea that they're really pushing for the whole platform to be a family-friendly platform, so they can get into brand stuff. And I think this would kind of support that idea. The fact that everyone on the platform has to sign a pledge and watch a safety video seems like they're making that decision. Dwarrow, do you have thoughts on this? It's Dwarrow, not Dwarrow, right?
Dwarrow.
Okay, you said Dwarrow, so I want to go with Dwarrow.
All good. Well, the thing is, if you go to Mixer, you've got this whole list of the agreement, basically, which is a lot more strict than if you compare it to Twitch, what they've mentioned there. So I don't see why you need a pledge, for crying out loud. I mean, everything is listed there in minute detail, what you cannot do, what you can do, what you shouldn't do, what you should do. I don't see exactly. I don't see the reason why you necessarily need a pledge. The only thing I'm thinking is why all of the sudden is this coming is, you know, Ninja Move there's a lot of people coming in from Twitch that maybe have enjoyed a larger freedom, quote unquote. And maybe they want to say, okay, wait a minute, we don't want to, I don't know, spend months and months and months tapping everybody on the fingers, what they shouldn't be doing. So let's invent a pledge. And for me, I don't think this is ever going to work, though. But if they want to do that, that's what they want to do.
I mean, I don't know. I think it'll work because they're not giving you a choice. Like either you do this or you don't stream. They're revoking your stream key until you complete this process, which is interesting. But yeah, I think what's interesting about this too is the fact that it's going to really add a lot of steps for someone to start streaming on Mixer. And with any platform like this, the more steps you add, the less likely someone is to actually do it. So I wonder if that's an intentional decision, if they want to actually make it more work to stream on Mixer so that you get less trolls and things like that. That could be what they're going for here, but
that would be a bit strange, though, from my point of view, because Mixer now clearly wants to openly compete with Twitch. So to add more hurdles to get people to come to them is counterproductive, I think. So I don't know.
Well, if any of you guys are Mixer streamers and you have thoughts on this, I'd love to have you call in or just give your thoughts in chat on this, because none of us are Mixer streamers, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So those are the big pieces of news for this week. There's a couple of small things I want to talk about. First of all, September details got announced. As always, you get half off your sub during September. There's some promotion with Subway this year, and I guess they're adding 10% onto any bits with a certain tag or something. So that's kind of cool. More bits going around, and then they're gonna dump a bunch of subs into random channels, and they're gonna stream on Twitch. I don't. It doesn't sound like it's that much different. Basically, they're getting Subway onto Twitch, is what I'm hearing. Second piece is this is kind of interesting. So Mixer announced a Game Pass deal for Xbox. So anyone who signs up newly to Xbox Game Pass can support a streamer of their choice with $3. This is like a kind of similar thing to Amazon Prime. It's not quite the same because it's a one-time thing for being a new person, and obviously it's not as universally used as Amazon Prime, but it's kind of cool to see that Mixer is doing things like this to make more incentives for streamers. Vel did not give me the report on Ninja's book, so that'll be next week.
Sorry, chat.
Good. I'm kind of just curious what's in there, but
You're late with your book report, Vel.
yeah, overdue. Minus 10 points. And I think that was actually it for all the news this week. So we'll go ahead and get into the questions, guys. If you would like us to answer a question or call in, you can do so now. I'm going to post the link for the server in the chat. There it is. Just join that link in the chat. Go into Discord and jump in a voice channel. And once you do, I'll add you as a friend and we'll bring you onto a call at the next opportunity. If you are a caller, you get to skip the line over anyone who's asking questions in the chat. If you can't get to Discord, though, you can still just ask questions in the chat. Just tag @TRUgaming so we see it. And if you already asked a question, don't be afraid to re-ask it because chat tends to kind of flood out the questions. So hit us up. The first question, though, comes actually from Twitter, and that is from Nadia. She says, I'm struggling to refine my niche. I like reading self-help books and sharing what I learn, but it's hard for me to stick to one category. And this is for streaming in particular. So for someone who's kind of struggling to find their niche with their content, I'll throw this to Vel first. Do you have any tips on working it out or just kind of brainstorming ideas?
I wouldn't focus so much on finding a niche. I would just focus on making content that you really enjoy making, whatever it is. It doesn't need to necessarily be different, because if you're trying too hard to be different, you might start stretching too far from what you actually enjoy. So just do your thing, make good content, and have fun doing it. And then eventually, like, you'll start to kind of branch out a little bit. You start to figure out what kind of streamer you are just naturally, as opposed to forcing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I got you there. Glock, what are your thoughts on finding a niche?
I'm just gonna echo what he said. Just do what you love. It's literally, there's no other way to put it. You know, you don't force yourself, like you said, to be different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to word it.
Gotcha. Well, do you think there's value in like finding some sort of thing you're known for, though, even while doing that?
Well, yeah, but you know, I think something like that comes in kind of naturally. You know, don't try too hard. Because I think people notice when you try too hard. You know,
trying to like force something that isn't really. Yeah, I got you. Dwarrow, do you have thoughts on niching as a streamer?
Well, pretty much echo of what has been said before. I mean, you follow what feels good, what you enjoy. The thing is, if there's a lot of things you enjoy, you don't necessarily need to kind of pinpoint and fine tune or pick just one of them. You could stream all sorts of things if there's like a whole, load of things that you enjoy. But otherwise, I guess you just need to try out as many things as you can and see what you enjoy most and what works most for you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's especially a great way to kind of find out what opportunities are out there. If you have a lot of passions and interests, just to try streaming them all and see kind of what sticks the best. Because I do think there is value in creating something you're kind of known for with your brand. And I don't think that can exist. You can do that while still doing something you're passionate about. So I understand kind of where her question here comes from. But I think that's a great idea of maybe test out a bunch of things that you love and see what people respond to the most, and then go with that as long as you are still passionate about it. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that question, Nadia. I saw some more questions in chat. Let me scroll up a little bit here. So Director Nasty asked, what are your thoughts on the current 50-50 split for subs? And do you think Twitch needs to reconsider this split in the near future to help keep streamers on the platform or compete with up-and-coming stream sites? Interesting. Dwarrow, what do you think about the 50-50 split on Twitch?
Well, I mean, you agree to it when you join channel. So you know the whole service. So when you're thinking, okay, this is going to be a problem, okay, probably after a while, when you start, you know, getting more subs, you're like, it's a big piece of the cheese here that I'm giving away. It's true, but okay, I can see the points and the problem that a lot of people are having. Plus, on top of that, the remainder of the cheese, so to speak, you're paying taxes on that as well. So I see where people are coming from, that they're saying, you know, there's not a lot left for me in the end. But that's the system. I do think, though, that Twitch may in future have to revisit that, because now they're still the number one and they still have that monopoly, and it's still strong enough for them to do whatever the bloody hell they like, really. And that may not be the case in a year down the road. And then, well, they'll have to revisit those terms, I think.
Sorry, I'm distracted by Glock here. Cute little guy. Vel, what are your thoughts on the 50-50 split with Twitch compared to other streaming platforms?
I think everybody, you know, kind of wants more money, you know, like, yeah, it'd be good to make more. And I'm sure Twitch is thinking the same thing. Like, maybe we can get $3 out of these guys instead of $2.50, you know, like everybody wants a little bit more of the pie, like he was saying. But at the end of the day, like, I don't see I don't have an issue with it. Like, I don't know. I'm still making money. Twitch is still making money. They're not necessarily making more than me off of my thing. If they were making $3 and I was making, what would that be, 2 or whatever,
2.
math, then you know, I'd be a little upset. But you know, 50-50 split, it's not that big of a deal. You know, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna cry about it.
Gotcha. Glock, do you have thoughts on the split and maybe the future of this?
Yo, Twitch, I got kids to feed, bro. Show me the money. All right. All right. Nah, I mean, I like you said, I'm not gonna cry about it. It's like, you know, to echo both of them. Number one, I won't cry about it. Number two, you did, you know, agree to it when you did sign up. You know, it was clearly in there. And I think it's actually, I thought about this a while ago, that they probably that they might actually change that, because that's one thing that I see a lot of people complaining about when they see that Mixer. I forgot what the split is for Mixer, but that's a lot when people compare Twitch to Mixer. That's one thing that they talk about, is that split that they get. So they might make a little change, but you know, Twitch ain't gonna be that big of a change.
Yeah, I actually don't know what the split on Mixer is. Is it different than basically half and half?
50-50.
Huh. In favor of the streamer?
I think it is in favor of the streamer, to be
Interesting.
Cannot confirm, but I believe it is.
Rumor has it. Gotcha. Yeah, I think I don't know. One thing I think we will see is at the top end, I keep hearing constantly from top streamers how they're getting really, like, Twitch is not budging with them, even though they're at the top of the platform. They're kind of shaping the future of the whole platform. They're still not making a ton of money from subs and that cut. So I think we will see change there. I don't know about, you know, the lower end of affiliates and rising streamers, because I think 50-50 it's not unfair. You're kind of splitting it with Twitch. So Vince throwing up these images up here. All right. Well, thank you for the question. That was from Nasty, I believe. Guys, I think we are totally open on questions, unless I missed one with a tag, and calls, actually. So if you would like to ask a question or jump on a call, now's a great time. In the meantime, some backup questions down here we can go through. So what do we got here? I want to ask you guys in terms of thinking like long term with your content. So these are the topics. If we get to these are going to take more discussion, but thinking maybe like 10 years down the road, even like 20 years down the road with your content. And this is something that I think it's easy to forget about as a streamer or ignore as a streamer. What do you kind of think is the future of you streaming on Twitch? Does it look like you moving into more content? Do you think you'll still be streaming in that much time? Do you think you'll try and move into maybe like a community branding type thing? Maybe a community manager type position? What are your kind of thoughts on that whole future of the platform and your career, sort of? Dwarrow, what are your thoughts?
To be honest, 10, 20 years down the line, I don't have plans, Twitch or stream-wise, on a piece of paper that says where I want to be in 10 and 20 years. I just don't have those. Plus, I got to be honest, the platform itself, I think, is still evolving. So I don't think it's going to be it's going to be radically different, perhaps in 10 years, 20 years, if not replaced by something completely different. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it is healthy though to kind of think, okay, where do you want to go, and what stepping stones do you want to reach? But again, for me, if I would note some of these down, they're definitely not going to be for 10, 20 years. Definitely not. But if I were to note these down, I'm probably revisiting those every now and then to check, okay, is this still valuable? And, where does it get me? Where does it get the community, etc.?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, at the moment, 10, 20 years down the line, no, I definitely
Sure.
don't think that.
And you're not a full-time streamer though, right? You have a full-time job outside of streaming.
Yeah, full-time job. Yeah, streaming
Right.
is something extra on the side, on top of Dwarvish translations and you name it. Yeah,
We all have hobbies like that for sure.
exactly.
No, I think that's important to mention too, because obviously this answer will sort of change depending on whether this is your full-time thing and you want to make this your career versus it's just sort of a hobby or part-time thing that you're filling out to see what happens.
Yeah.
Glock, what do you think about this? Thinking forward 5, 10, 15 years with your content?
Man, I'd love to keep doing it. I want to become one of the grandpa gamer streamers, just saying. But, you never know. Like, we were talking about last time with number one, kids.
Mm.
You never know how busy you're going to get if you're going to keep being able to do it every night and stuff like that. So, me personally, I would love to keep streaming. It's one of the joys like I have. I would love to do it full time, but it's something that, again, I don't think about stuff like that. I just keep doing it and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, same thing, sort of just feeling it out and seeing where it takes you.
Shoot your shot.
Yep, there you go. Vel,
Prayers.
I think you're sort of the only one in this group who is doing stream pretty full time right now. What are your thoughts on thinking into the future with your content?
Well, in 10 to 15 years, when I'm pulling out to my stream booth in a gold-plated Tesla future machine, I'll look back and no, I haven't really thought too much on that. I definitely feel like I'm gonna still be streaming because of how much I enjoy it, and I just like, if you enjoy entertaining people and playing video games, like that's all that Twitch is. So why not keep doing it? It is a good idea to have some goals. I should probably start setting some, just get some vision for the future and what this will all be. Because obviously, I don't plan on everything staying the same. You got to continue working on your content, and it is smart to kind of evaluate yourself and evaluate what you can be or what you should be down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really
Absolutely.
thought too much on it.
So, for sure. I think that's what I want to talk about a little bit, because I think, especially with streaming, it's so easy to get wrapped up into day to day, like what's my schedule this week? What am I streaming this week? What am I doing this week? And then kind of lose sight of thinking long term. And even like that goes for games too, right? Like maybe you're thinking this game's really hot right now. Like even WoW Classic. This month, WoW Classic is huge, right? A year, 2 years from now, what does WoW Classic streaming look like? Is that still a thing? So I think it's beneficial to have sort of a moment to look at the future sometimes in that way. And actually, to go along with that, Twinkie Talks has sort of a jumping off question. It says, I would say a better question would be plans about your personal brand going forward. Where do you see yourself as a content creator? So I think this could be like maybe a little bit more short term, like 5 years. Where do you kind of see the evolution of your content? Maybe the games you're playing or the type of content that you're making. I mean, are you thinking of maybe looking into podcasts or YouTube or anything else that's out there? Dwarrow, what do you think?
Well, there's a couple of things that I'm kind of planning and well, not busy with at the moment, but heading toward. So one thing is potential podcast, because the questions I'm getting via the site, via Tumblr, you sometimes have to rehash these anyway. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we could use some of these in a podcast, talk about that a bit more in depth than just writing an article about them. So that's kind of one thing. In addition, there's a couple of things, like, for instance, doing translations for companies, again, not streaming related, but what I'm doing currently, or what I did until recently for Wormwood Gaming, who does the dice vaults for D&D games and all that. So like in having inscriptions on those in Dwarvish and that kind of thing. The work I did with Standing Stone Games to translate stuff into Dwarvish. So maybe a bit more of that. Searching for or getting in touch with a couple of companies there that may be branching out. Perhaps some translations for, I don't know, TV shows, movies, you name it. I don't know. That's all possible.
That's so cool. I love that there's stuff out there that exists like that. You can go out and work with game companies and TV shows on translating Dwarvish. I just think that's so cool that we live in a world where that's possible.
Yeah.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense to me. Glock, what do you think about maybe the next 5 years? Are you thinking of maybe pivoting in a different direction, or basically doing the same thing as long as you can, trying out new mediums?
I think you do the same thing as long as I can. I think what I'm doing right now is working for me, so I haven't really thought about changing anything up, so I wouldn't be able to give an answer on that, because
if it's
I love what
not
I
broken,
do.
don't fix it, right?
Exactly. If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
There you go.
So.
Makes sense to me. Vel, what are your thoughts in the next 5 years with your content?
I think it's going to stay generally the same. I don't like adding too much craziness onto my stream all at one time. I kind of like it to just be, about streaming and just being entertaining. I don't do too many extra scenes or anything aside from like the videos. I don't really have too much crazy stuff going on. So I really enjoy just sitting there playing games and just trying to create funny moments for my chat.
Makes sense to me. Cool. I just think that's kind of cool to hear about with the future. Yeah. And I'm sure you guys have your own thoughts too. Wow. We just got a total. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, people keep talking about going from, for example, people going from Ninja's Hyper to Family Friendly Ninja.
Mm-hmm.
My channel is very family friendly. I think maybe one time try to just full on vulgar Vel stream,
I got you. I think everyone should have one of those streams.
A Vel cosplay, just shave my head and just bleep, 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 bleep. Just saying, give it a shot.
See what happens.
You could have a blast. You never know.
I have a bleep button, so it'll still be family friendly.
You can't use that during those streams.
Oh, okay. It was full on uncensored. Block 9 unrated. All right. Just
After dark.
After dark.
Oh man. All right. We got a total flood of questions and calls. So thank you guys. Let's start with the calls as usual. I don't know who joined first, and I'm going to throw British a little shade and start with Meemaw here. So we're going to bring Meemaw onto the show. Again, don't know which one joined first. Meemaw is another true partner, is new. Newer compared to Vel, not as new as Dwarrow and Glock. Let's add her onto the show right now. Meemaw, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Peachy, how are you guys?
Peachy as well. What do you want to talk about in the show today?
Well, TwitchCon is coming up, as you know. I have video on if you don't want to just put my little tiny cat face there.
You can use it. You should be able to turn it on.
Oh. It's in my power.
I was hoping we'd have video this call.
Yeah, I'm out and about, but I figured I'd call in.
Gotcha, from the beach or something. I can't tell.
That's content right there.
Yeah,
that's content.
Oh, so anyway, TwitchCon is coming up, and we don't want to wait to the last minute. So, what do you guys recommend if you've been there before that you should prepare beforehand, like maybe business cards, maybe buttons, or those little ribbons you stick on the bottom of the thingies?
I don't know what the ribbons are, but I think that's a very good question. So Vel and I have been to TwitchCon before. Glock, I know you're going this year. Have you been before?
I went last year. It was about an hour from my house, and it's a great experience.
Okay. Dwarrow, I'm guessing you haven't, but maybe you have?
No, I haven't. The thing is, TwitchCon Europe, they had the first one last year, which I couldn't go to, which I really wanted to go to, but couldn't. So, yeah, the TwitchCon experience for me is zilch.
Gotcha.
So,
okay, well, let's kick.
I can't say anything on that, though. I'm guessing, preparing for it, like with, I don't know if business cards is the way to go. Maybe. I have no idea, but maybe thinking about who you want to talk to there might be a good idea, because you need to do a lot of networking. I think for this, it's an opportunity for people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of where you have to decide what you want that experience to be.
Yeah.
Are you going there for
Mhm.
networking and collaboration attempts? Get that in your mind.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
is it just pleasure? Are you just basking in the twitchy goodness?
I think if I would have made it to TwitchCon Europe last time, I probably would have done a bit of both, because you want to network, you want to talk to a couple of companies that you think, okay, I could have a link here, I could have something that is beneficial for both parties. And on the other hand, there's a couple of people there that you definitely want to talk to, because you've been in their communities, you watch their streams. So yeah, I guess it's not going to be one or the other. It's going to be a bit of both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think, meanwhile, you had a good point there in terms of trying to decide ahead of time what you want to get out of the conference. From experience, that definitely is helpful. Vel, you've been twice to TwitchCon. What are your kind of thoughts for someone going into TwitchCon to prepare? What are your biggest tips?
Okay. I would go there with the intention on meeting people that you already know, because as much as it is about networking, it's more about networking with people that you already have connections kind of built on. Um, you're gonna meet a lot of new people. You're gonna make some really good friends doing that. But at the end of the day, like, you're not gonna get too much growth out of it. The best thing that I got out of that was just building, like, just basically building on relationships that I had already made, making better friends out of friends that I had already had, just spending time with them. And then also, you're going to go to a lot of panels while you're there, and you're going to learn a lot about, other people's perspectives on Twitch streaming, and, different ways that they implement certain tools. Like the first year that we went, I think it was a lot about extensions. I think so. I think it was like one of the big things that they talked about the first year that I went, and just really cool tips and tricks on panel or on extensions and clips and stuff like that. So you're going to go there, just try to work on relationships that you've already, established, and just build on those, because that's just going to increase your friendship with that person. And then just go there and try to learn as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Definitely like that. You've been 2 years and maybe going this year. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Glock, you have been before, and you're going for one day this year. Is that correct?
I'm only going for Saturday this year.
Okay. Did you pick Saturday for a certain reason for the conference, or just because?
Because I have to work that Friday, so I'm leaving Friday after work, and then I'm coming back Sunday. So I have to be back at work on Monday.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And actually, because Vel actually said that the main reason I am going is because I know people that are going that I absolutely want to meet in person, and I know the people that are going. I mean, it's only like a 5-hour drive from me, so they worked so hard to get there that I want to make the trip out to meet them. The other thing was, she was asked about business cards. Please, if you're going to TwitchCon, do not go just handing out business cards. I got so many of them last year, and you can guess where they ended up. But I had business cards, but they were after I got to know somebody or something like that, and then someone asked like what your Twitch handle is or stuff like that. You said, okay, here you go, take, if you want to contact me and want to play this, blah, 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 take this. And then also you meet people from other companies that have like affiliate programs and stuff like that. When you kind of give that to them as get in contact with you, which also happen as well. But don't just get a stack of them and just start walking by. Hey.
Yeah.
Toss them in the air.
Dude, that's basically what people do. I mean,
yes.
it's not how you make connections with people at all. But the main focus, like Vel said, is to meet people that you already know, and that's then you just go looking, have a good time, and learn new things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think business cards are definitely overused in the sense that people just hand them out like crazy, like you said. I do think they're good to have for certain situations, especially if we're working with brands. I think. So I've been to 2 TwitchCons now, and I think you have to look at what you can get at TwitchCon that you can't get anywhere else. And there's a couple things. So most of the panels are streamed on Twitch too. So while I do usually go to a lot of panels, you can technically watch them at home. So I wouldn't worry too much about the panels. I think there is something to be said for the fact that, there's a whole room of people who want to learn, and that just sort of makes you excited to be there, and maybe you pay more attention. But I would maybe go to like the ones that you care the most about in that sense. The biggest thing that I take away from TwitchCon every year is just like ecstatic excitement about streaming. So you cannot wait to get back home and stream. And so if you're a person who maybe you're struggling with streaming, motivation, or you just need something to jumpstart your stream, I think TwitchCon is awesome for that. So that
Get juiced up.
yeah, it's crazy because I mean, just walking into a building and knowing that everyone there knows what Twitch is, and you can go up to anyone and talk about it with them, is super exciting and fun, and you just have that immediate in with everyone. So that's really cool. The other thing I would say that's really important in my experience is working with brands at the conference, because there's just something about being in person with a representative that you can't get over email or via Twitter or whatever. A lot of times, like, you don't even know how to contact someone from a company if they're online. But if they're there on the show floor, even if you have to wait like half an hour to talk to them, I mean, you can shake their hand, you can hand them a card. You can't beat that. So I think that's huge. I don't think you want to go around and talk to every single brand there, but like you were saying ahead of time, maybe you scope out some things that you want to work with, and maybe even like look up who's going to be there, and then really kind of concentrate on those few people. I think that's one of the best things you can do at TwitchCon. But you also, like Glock said, you have to follow up from that. Like, it's not enough to just meet at TwitchCon. You're going to have to take the discipline to go home and email that person and say, it was great meeting you. We talked about this. I'd be excited to do this thing that we talked about. So I would say those are some of the biggest things. And the other thing, like you said, actually, Meemaw, is sometimes maybe you're torn between having fun and being really, business focused. I don't think you're going to get a ton of growth out of TwitchCon. That's not the reason you should go to TwitchCon, but I think it is worth deciding whether you want to go to this conference just to have a good time and be energized and kind of soak it all in, or if you have some business-focused things you want to get done over the conference. I think that's okay too. Just don't lose yourself in that being so businessy that you lose all the fun of it. So, sorry, that was a big rant there, but I thought a lot about this over the past years.
No, that's good. That's good. And I wanted to get folks thinking about it early. Don't wait till like the week before and you go, hey, maybe I should have made a business card, or maybe, I should have, started talking to folks, because I've already started talking to folks. My favorite games. Hey, you going to be at TwitchCon? Let's hook up. Not in that cool young,
I was
way.
gonna ask.
Non-cat way.
That way.
It'd be nice to meet people, but don't.
That's not how you network generally.
That's not how you know.
Gotcha. Cool. Anything else to add there, Meemaw?
No, that was it. I just wanted to pop on, say hi to everybody.
We appreciate it. Always good to hear from you. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right, I gotta get busy.
I can tell. All right, I'll see you later.
Is that in the young folks' way? No.
See you, Meemaw.
Bye-bye.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Really had to do that.
We have another caller, British Avenger, the one and only.
Man.
Calling back
Here we
in.
go.
Here we go. Gonna add him back on right now. We are ringing. Hopefully he'll pick up here in a sec. British, you there?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, man?
How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for calling in. What would you like to talk about on the show today? Ooh, we got video too.
Yeah. I want to add on the question someone asked about, like, having goals 5 years ahead. So for me personally, I don't try to aim for 5 years, because to me, who knows what's going to happen. So anything can legit happen on Twitch. So I try to maybe try set myself as short term goals. So me actually getting that goal could be possible to do it. And when of course when's the time come closer to maybe the big goal you've been thinking for years or whatever, you can probably try to aim for that near the time.
Gotcha. So you just think it's better to kind of focus on short-term things and just see where it takes you long-term?
Yeah, because anything can happen between the 5 years you try to aim for that goal.
Okay. Dwarrow, what do you think about that? Do you think sometimes it's not really worth thinking through 5 years?
Well, maybe it is. I mean, I don't see any harm setting a goal for yourself 5 years, a year, whatever down the road. I don't see any specific harm. And again, at times you just need to accept that you need to reevaluate those goals when needed. I don't see any harm there. One thing though, there's a lot of people always talking about timed goals. Goals shouldn't always be timed, I think. If you said, I want to do, I don't know, I want to increase my viewership, for instance, on my stream. You don't always, at least in my opinion, sometimes you need to quantify things with the quality of stream, not necessarily in 6 months, 4 months, a year, whatever it may be. And if it means that, okay, well, it's going to take you longer, well, then that might be what you need to accept. It all depends. I mean, I know a lot of people are very focused on numbers when it comes to streaming, and I get that. But that is not necessarily the ideal focus point, especially when you're setting goals.
Definitely agree with that. Glock, what are your thoughts on just sort of focusing on the short term? It sounds like you kind of were thinking through that yourself earlier.
No, I personally, I live in the moment. I don't really worry about what, like he just said, it's not wrong to set goals. I think we all have goals of what we want, in the back of our minds. Like, you always hear people say that, oh, I want to be Twitch partner, I want to be the, it's not wrong to have those goals, but, focus on what you're doing right now. And, what's that famous quote? Don't set your goals too high and be afraid you'll never reach it. Be afraid you set your goals too low that you'll always reach it. So don't be afraid to, have high, high hopes for, for your stream and stuff like that. Just, you gotta go out there and get it. Try it.
There you go. Vel, what are your thoughts?
I definitely think that, living in the moment is great. And I think you should focus on just what you're doing right now. But also having those ambitions, for down the road, having like, just a thought or, a dream of, being a bigger streamer, being better at whatever it is that you're trying to do will kind of keep you motivated in those tough times. So like, yeah, like it might not be the best to focus solely on the future, but at the same time, having a goal or having ambitions to get to will kind of help drive you, and it'll give you something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think long-term goals are very important. Now, I think short-term are obviously equally as important, but it's important to really kind of know where you're going with everything, because I think it can be easy to get wrapped up in the moment and feel like this is working now, I'm having a lot of fun, this is great, so I'm just gonna keep doing it, and whatever happens, happens. The only problem with that is you might not like where you end up 5 years from now. So the benefit of kind of having a target, and I think important to mention here is that you can kind of change your target over time, but at least have some idea or vision of where you want to go. Say like, okay, if 5 years I'm doing this, I'm going to be happy with my life. 10 years, I'm going to be happy with my life. And does the thing I'm doing now sort of support that? I think just even like a vague idea of that will really help you, because otherwise I think you're going to get to a point where if you're doing things day by day, that maybe like 3 months down the road, you're like, I'm doing the exact same thing I did 3 months ago, and I don't know where I'm going. So I personally, for me, it really helps me to know what am I going for over the next couple of years, and am I going to be happy there, and is what I'm doing now supporting that and making that happen? So that's my little soapbox. But British, do you have any follow-up thoughts there?
Nah.
Cool.
Like,
I will add one thing, because usually people call in, they ask questions, stuff like that. My first time on the show, British called in and he was asking how he can improve his stream and stuff like that. I do spend time in your chat. I have been there lurking without talking, and I've seen that you changed a lot of things. So, and I've seen you change your overlay. I've seen camera angle change. You tried it with no camera. We told you last time to try and narrate more and talk more. I see you doing that stuff. So you are improving your streams, and I see it from an outside perspective. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Cool.
yeah. Can I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So at the moment, of course, like my schedule is like pretty much every day, and like sometimes I do feel like burnt out because like doing like 7 days a week is not like the best to do, but sometimes like I just feel like I can do it like without getting burnt out, and I've done it for a year without getting burnt out. So like, should I maybe like force myself to have a day off, so like at least I can't burn out then, or should I just keep going with like what I'm doing?
Okay, you go ahead, Vel.
Sorry, I just like I know that like I could stream 7 days a week if I wanted to, but I know that if I keep separation between, you know, like if I have days off, I'll get that much more excited to stream the next day. And like while I'm not streaming, I might even come up with an idea of what the things that I could do, like, you know,
Yeah.
like just little ideas to help, you know, keep the stream a little bit more entertaining. So as much as it might be possible for you to stream every day, I think that having those days off will increase, you know, creativity for the next stream, and it'll increase motivation, and it'll make you that much better. You know what I mean? Like having those days of anticipation, like, oh, I can't wait till Monday, like I get to stream again. Like it's awesome. It's a good feeling.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Glock, do you have thoughts on this?
I think you should always have at least one day off. I mean, and, you know, at least one. I mean, I've been off work for 2 months, and I stream morning, afternoon, night whenever I get a chance. But I had nothing else to do. But even though I loved it so much, I did get burnt out a couple of times. I took a couple of days off, and you know, like Vel just said, you get very excited. But while you're off, you just can't help but think of things you can do in the back of your mind, like what do I want to do? You know, I'd come back and this, and you know. But I think taking a break, even just for a day, is very good for, you know, your mentality. Even though you think you're not getting burnt out, and you probably are getting a little burnt out.
Yeah,
So
I think that's
I
true.
suggest a day off.
Gotcha. Dwarrow, what are your thoughts on Rich's question?
Well, I think taking one or more days off in your stream schedule is beneficial for you. It's not something, you know, um, like you're missing out necessarily, or you might miss a couple of followers or a couple of subscribers or whatever. That is, I mean, taking some time off is not only good to kind of recharge your batteries, give you new ideas, but it could actually give you time to make other content that, I don't know, you can use on YouTube or whatever, and that could drive people toward your stream as well. So if you just go stream without a break, you're going to burn out. It's as simple as that. You're going to burn out, and you need time off for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for, you know, anything real life, plus content that you want to create, plus get some new ideas as well. So if you don't have that time off, I think that's a bad idea. You should have some time off, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. I think one thing I talk about a lot is the value of doing other content. Like, I think a lot of people think the more time I stream, the more time I'm growing, when really some of that time would be better spent, you know, making upgrades or doing research or making different content like YouTube, which you've started doing, which is awesome, British. But yeah, I think there's definitely value in using less time streaming and more time making upgrades to your content overall. And then I also think, like all three of you guys have said, when you take a break away from streaming, you know, that's when you have the moments of, okay, I'm thinking about my stream. What are some upgrades I can do? You have new ideas about the stream. That's actually like proven by science. And there are a lot of studies on how people who are stuck on a problem, if they force themselves to go take a break, even though it seems like the last thing they should do, that's when the problem gets solved. So it's the same thing with streaming, right? If you feel like you've kind of hit a wall, probably more streaming's not going to fix that problem. Whereas taking a step back and, you know, thinking about other things for a second might actually be what you need to get through that. But my initial response to what you said was a little bit different, because you said, you know, I feel like I could do this every day. I feel like, you know, I'm doing great, but maybe I should take a day off. I'm kind of curious, like, do you feel like you're getting burnout, or do you feel like you're fine right now?
I feel like I'm fine, but like, of course, that's always in my mind worrying, like, you know, they could become a point where, like, I don't know, 5 months down the road, or like any down the road, you know, I've been doing this for like year, so like I could have like a whole week, or I could become so burnt out, you know, I could be like toe out for like a long time.
Has that happened in the past for you?
I have got into like maybe like some depressions, like areas with streaming that has maybe took me out for a whole month with streaming.
Was it related to streaming? Is that what caused it?
Yeah, I just wasn't really having motivation or like anything towards streaming at all.
Yeah, I think that's definitely evidence that you should work in breaks then, especially if you've had cases where that caused you to burn out in the past. Obviously, you don't want that to happen again if you can avoid it. So in that case, yeah, I would definitely say try and work in somewhat of a break, even if you feel like you can keep going for a while. So, cool. Anything else to add there, man?
No.
Awesome. Thank you for calling in, as always, with the video this time. Good to see you, man.
I'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a good one. Oh, he's gone. All right. Let me jump back in here. We have another caller. Okay. Oh, wait, you disappeared. Okay, All Fun was in the calls and then popped out as soon as I went to grab him. Okay. All Fun, I don't know if you have to go, if you want to join, but I'll pull you back on if you'd like to join. Real quick, let me go through some of the subs, because we had a decent bit of subs here. Thank you to Veli for the 27, Glock for 2, Rambicos for 23, Void the Area for 7, Azamat for 24, 2 years, awesome dude. Small Panda for 18, Captain Dubs for 1, and Lumberjack Allen, who actually hit a question in his sub. I didn't actually see this. So Lumberjack Allen said, my question is, if you're doing a podcast, should you focus on a specific topic, or is it okay if it's random and just talk about whatever? So Vel and I do this podcast. Dwarrow, you've thought about doing a podcast, it seems like? Okay. So for planning for that podcast, what do you think for this question? Is it better to kind of go on a specific topic each episode, or just sort of have a random episode each time?
Well, I guess it depends on the theme and the idea of your podcast to begin with. I mean, if you don't have a theme or something you're working with, and every week you want to talk about something else, then that actually becomes the theme of your podcast. It's something else every week, and talking about, all sorts of stuff, whatever, comes up. And then that is kind of your brand then. You talk about something else every week. The thing is, with podcasts, they do get quite specific, because if people search for stuff, on the various platforms, you're searching for at times, very niche topics. And you want to know more about streaming, or I don't know, or whatever it may be. You're looking for specific topics.
Dwarven translations.
Yeah, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're making that so broad, it might be harder for people to find you. So that might be the downside of it. If you're making it, but then again, more people might drop in kind of unexpectedly, unplanned, and if it's any good, stick at the podcast and listen to it regularly. I don't know.
Gotcha. Glock, have you ever done a podcast before?
Yeah, actually, we did have one going for a while.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this?
I think having a theme is probably one of the best things, because even though sometimes maybe your podcast could turn into like random banter, about certain random things, but like he just said, people search for the certain theme. Like Stream Key is obviously about streaming. We talk about majority pretty much all streaming, but I don't know many successful podcasts other than like Joe Rogan who talk about random things at random times. That's the only one I think about that you can talk about anything, but.
Mm-hmm.
You should always have a main theme set, maybe in the show, talk about random stuff, but have a main focus, for your podcast.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. Vel, you've been helping me with this podcast for a while. I think you've thought about doing podcasts in the past, maybe. What do you think about this?
I think it's a good idea to keep a theme, and you want to figure out what audience you're kind of like trying to go for, who you want to listen to you, and just stick to something like that. You can branch off like in the middle of a podcast and just have like a random discussion real quick. Like you can kind of like build off of something and go off on a tangent about something, I guess. But at the end of the day, I think having the core vision of how that podcast needs to go is really important, just to keep any new viewer or new listeners engaged, stuff like that. The people who have already listened, they won't mind if you kind of express something different that's a little bit off topic, because maybe they'll be interested in your opinion on something, or just how your mindset is on that thing. But I guess generally you want to stick to one core topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I've been doing this podcast for 2 to 3 years now. It depends on what your goals are with the podcast. If you want to just do a podcast with your friends and have fun, I think there's a place for that. Just don't go into it with the expectation of growing a huge podcast. Just do it to have fun with your friends and have that there. But if you want to grow a show, there's a lot of thought that has to go into, like you guys said, your target audience and who you want to be listening to the show. So I could talk about podcasts all day, but some of the big things with podcasts in particular are making it so that it gets found when it gets searched. So if you guys are listening to this show, or if you've been listening, you probably have seen that if you search for like stream or streaming or Twitch, you'll find this show on things like podcast, iTunes, and that's like by design. I think it's actually more important to make the theme of the show, like Vel said, more like defined and cohesive than the individual episodes, because the whole point is getting people to find your show, and you can kind of decide the format if you want it to be one thing. Obviously, you should have some sort of theme during the discussion, but I mean, it could look like anything. It could be interviews, it could be a panel like this one, it could be whatever. The format isn't really as important as much as like defining what the podcast is going to be about, what the structure is, and basically what you want people to be finding you about. What are they typing into search boxes to find you? Where are they finding you? That's the stuff that kind of matters. So that's what I would say. Kind of figure out first what you want to get out of the podcast and what your purpose for starting it is. And then if you decide that you really want to grow a podcast, it's going to take some work to put some research in on deciding, how to design it, what to call it, format, all that kind of stuff. But good question, Lumberjack. Thank you for that one. I think All Fun is ready to go now. So let me bring him onto the show.
Uh-oh.
We got 3 new partners from this round in here. All Fun, how's it going, man?
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for calling in. Oh, we got the video too, if it'll load. Sometimes it doesn't.
There we go.
There it is. Dang, dude. Looks different than last time we saw it, I think.
Yeah, that's actually part of my question. So.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one question that I was kind of curious about is, obviously I did like a big change on my stream, and I used to have like the camera right in front of me, and now it's on the side, and it looks a little bit different on stream than it does on Discord. But have you guys ever done like a gigantic change on your stream and like been like anxious about it kind of thing? Like, is that something that you guys find that happens? Like if you get a new microphone, or if you get a new camera or peripherals, stuff like that? You find that that's something that like that big of change, you're kind of like worried about it up until you do it kind of thing? Or do you decide that you don't want to do it? Or, what are your thoughts on that stuff?
Gotcha. So I'll throw this to Vel first, because I know you've made a number of changes to your stuff over the years. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
I definitely agree. It's kind of nerve-wracking a little bit, like getting a nicer microphone. Like, what if, a certain part of my voice starts showing up and people are like, wow, his voice is horrible to listen to, like things like that. Or like I'll move the camera over here and maybe this side of my face is way more ugly than the ugly part of my front face, but I think it's just something that streamers deal with regularly. With any change, there's always that fear, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters as much as we think it does in our heads. I think as long as it's something that you're comfortable doing, I think you should do it, and I think chat will in your community will be okay with it, and I don't think there's anything to really worry about.
Gotcha. Glock, have you made changes to your setup over the years?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I started off with a green screen, which was just a green cloth on the wall behind me, and the camera was head on. Then that got taken down because my wife didn't like the big green fabric on the wall every time she walked in the room. And then I went to the forward facing camera, but I had 3 kids and I didn't want to show you guys what's over on the side of the room. And then now I have it set where they got the wall there, I got it set up. But it's like, but every time I did change it, I was, I know me by anxious, just like I just got a new mic. I used to have the Blue Yeti just hanging up here. I never had to touch it, nothing. Now I got an XLR mic and it has to be like right up here, and I'm still getting used to it. But it's one of the things you'll probably catch me even while I'm doing this. Like I'll move it for no reason at all. I just don't like it right here. But it's just something I used to. And viewers should understand. When you change things around, there's a reason behind it. So I don't, there's nothing to really worry about. But it's a normal feeling to feel a little anxious.
I think it can be good too to kind of mix up your stream sometimes. Sometimes people will kind of come in and see something's different on the preview or just comment on it more. So I think that can be beneficial as long as it's not every day you're changing something. Dwarrow, what are your thoughts?
Well, as you said, I mean, it's good to kind of change things up, not just for your viewers, but also for yourself. To, something new is always exciting. You got the you're starting a stream, for instance, with a new mic. Okay, you may test it. You may test the mic for, I don't know how long, but still, then you'll only have that feeling and test it out when you're done with your actual stream, right? So yeah, it's always good, I think, to test new stuff out, and gradually you're growing, and you're buying new stuff as well to kind of upgrade your stream. So yeah.
Cool. Off on, go ahead.
Yeah, so because like this was like the first bit, I would say, like, getting a new microphone, getting a new webcam, stuff like that. Obviously, I wouldn't say like that was like a big change. But switching from face cam to, and like a little bit of the background to, the angled camera and stuff like that, definitely a gigantic change. So it was kind of cool to kind of like get the reactions of people like, oh man, it's gonna take me a while to get used to this, and I'm like, all right, you know what I mean. But that's cool. Yeah, as long as I'm not the only one, you know what I mean. So that's cool for sure.
I think everybody kind of gets in the habit too. Once you've done something for a long time, it's kind of weird to change it, but I think it gives you talking points and stuff like that too. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then I was going to touch a little bit on Brit's kind of situation about this 7 days a week situation. I kind of do that right now. Like I'm pretty much every single day, and the past few days I've been off because like I'm getting married this weekend. So like not to bring that in the shop. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm on the call right now. No, I'm sure. But
congrats, man.
No, yeah. So like I'm 7 days a week as well too. And I will say that if you ever are consistently doing it every day and you find that that as soon as you are about to go live, you're like, why am I going live today? At that point, that's when you should be taking a break. I think that as soon as you are kind of like telling yourself, I don't think I should be going live today, or I think I need to take a break, that's when you should really give yourself that 24-hour, 48-hour break, whatever you really need, whatever you feel like you need a break. That's a good choice. But I mean, I've been doing 7 days for like a very long time, and it works for me. I feel pretty motivated, but if there is a day that I don't feel good or I feel like I'm not feeling the best, that's when I will take the day off for sure. So
yeah,
just to kind of touch a little bit on Brits.
Right. Question. That's one thing I was going to say there too is, so the reason I told him to take a break is because he had instances in the past where he felt like, he went into like depression. So I think in that case, it makes sense to kind of prevent that from being a thing. But I don't think you should take a break just because people tell you should take a break, or like if you feel like you're fine, genuinely fine, and everything's working and you're growing and you're not in an obstacle, then obviously it makes sense to keep streaming as much as you can, as long as you feel okay doing that. So I think that's a good point to bring up as well. Any guys have thoughts to add on that?
I actually want to ask all fun, how often do you find yourself taking breaks, if you don't mind me asking?
Very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's actually surprising. Like even it's odd. Like even when I go on vacation, I'm like, oh man, I wish I was streaming right now. Like it sounds odd, but like it's so part of my routine that I enjoy it. But there are days, like if I don't feel good, like obviously if I'm sick or something like that, then I'm not going to stream. I'm not going to powerhouse through a stream just because if I'm not feeling well, you know what I mean? That's not a good option because you want to take rest, right? But it's pretty rare. Like there will be days where, if I'm running around real quick before I go live, I'm like, I'm going to be a half an hour late sort of thing. But it's pretty rare that I miss a day. That's kind of like, I don't know. It's weird. I haven't had a day yet that I've just not wanted to stream, which is odd.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long, like roughly, have you been streaming for that consistently?
Yeah, obviously when I first started streaming, it was not like that at all. Like I had days off when I first started streaming. I'd probably say almost like a full year, I think.
Wow.
It's been like that. Yeah. So it was, I didn't go, at first when I started streaming, I was like, I don't know if I want to do 7 days a week right away. Cause like I thought it'd be too much, but then I've kind of gotten used to it, which is pretty good. And like, I definitely enjoy it for sure. Sometimes people think that 7 days a week is kind of for competition. Like you're like, oh, if I'm not live today, I'm going to lose out on my followers and all this other stuff. But it's kind of, I guess it's kind of that, but it's also more so just, it's me. If I'm going to play games, I'm definitely going to game every day anyway. So I might as well be streaming while I do it. That's the kind of mentality behind it, right? So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you for calling in.
All right. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk to you another time. See you, man. All right, let me double check. Okay, through the callers, so many calls. Next question comes from Max Sense, formerly known as Steamer. Said, I recently did a complete pivot and rebrand. I need a website. Can one of the streamers recommend an easy way to get started with a basic homepage? Interesting. Do any of you guys have a streaming website of your own? No,
I would
no.
like to. I have the same question that he does. So,
Dwarrow, do you?
I have a general website, but not specifically streaming websites. I have a general website which kind of links in all the other media that I do, like on Tumblr and WordPress and whatnot. So if people head to dwarrowscholar.com, they'll find all sorts of things, including the streaming, but not specifically a site on the streaming content itself, or only that. No,
I think based on what he's doing, that's sort of what he's looking for too. Because if I remember correctly, he's doing like personal finance stuff. So I would imagine it's the same thing where he's making native content on the site and it links to Twitch among other things. Do you have advice for him on picking sort of like a provider, editing software, stuff like that?
To be honest, for me, it has been I'm used to the sites I have now on the way of get that site up and to update that site regularly. So I'm used to that. I'm still not really 100% happy with the site. So I'm the bad guy to ask here on that what that is concerned. I'm actually still, and I've been with I think the provider now for like 3 years or something. And yeah, I'm still looking around for other stuff. I think the thing is, when it comes to websites, there's so many possibilities. And not everything is good for everybody. You need to look around and see what works for you. I know a couple of people that are very happy with Wix. That I, for instance, could not do. I mean, I feel it's a bit too limited for what I want to do. So yeah, there's all sorts of kind of things, but it all depends how much content you want to put on that site as well. If it's content overload, if you will, then that might not be ideal to go for a simple streaming site. You might need to just have a custom site, and then you need to get, I don't know, to Fiverr or something to find people that can actually make that custom site for you.
Makes sense. Glock, Vel, have you guys thought about creating a website of your own at any point, or do you see any value in doing that as a streamer?
I mean, there's obviously probably value in it, but it's something that's never even crossed my mind. So you just asked that question.
Gotcha.
When you said website, I was going to say twitch.tv/ my website right there.
There you go. Val, what about you? Have you thought about it in the past before?
I've definitely considered having a website, like a central hub for all my content, and maybe like a merch store link there too would be cool. It's something that I don't know how to do, and I don't know how much it would cost me, so I haven't really looked into it. But I do think it's something that could be really cool, because we've always talked about, you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. And if Twitch were to be something that would go down, you could just take this website that already has your stream on it, and you could just link it to whatever the next platform is that you're going to stream to. It is a really good idea. It's something that I really do need to consider, especially since this is my full-time thing. I should probably start making those smart, educated moves that smart and intelligent and planned out people do.
Wherever they are.
Yeah, wherever they are. I don't know where you're at, but at me, my dude, please. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. I need to look into it myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's really beneficial if you want to kind of think long term, like we were talking about earlier. If you want to make sure that you're across multiple platforms, then having a central hub is a really good idea. And you could even like build email lists on there if you wanted to, or like blog content, and there's a whole lot of things you could do there. So I don't think it's something you need to worry about if you're brand new to streaming, or if streaming is sort of your main focus. But if you are at the point where you want to think long term and look at hitting multiple platforms and maybe just making content that's beyond a single platform, then that's a good idea to look at a website and what that might be able to do for you. So Max Sense, thank you for the question, man. Hopefully that helps you. Let me keep going through questions here. Dang, chat is moving right now. Okay, MPI said, actually, this may not be a question, but I'm going to read it anyway. He said, I went through a big change by getting rid of my green screen and having a background more similar to yours now, This is for all fun. Okay. I definitely was really nervous about it, but now I'm used to it and like it a lot more. So yeah, MPI's been through the same thing. I think a lot of streamers go through the process of changing, especially actually green screen versus non-green screen. That's a great point. I think a lot of streamers have tried both or have thought about trying both, and viewers will support you either way. Okay, I think we're actually free up on questions and calls right now. We have about 25 minutes left, guys. So if you want to start getting calls and questions in, now's getting close to the end. So make sure you do that now rather than later. And again, if you join the show via calling in, you get to skip the line of questions. Of course, there are no questions now, but just in case we get those, that's beneficial. Val, do you have anything you want to talk about this week in terms of stuff you saw going around Twitch or anything you've been thinking about?
I didn't really think about. I haven't really seen anything on Twitch in specific. I guess with me, I've been recently getting over just like a mental hurdle, and I guess the thing that really got me through that was kind of just talking to chat about it, because I had something going on for like easily a month and a half, where even like during like the most successful time of my stream, I was like, I had this like thing of like, self-doubt and all these like weird things going on where it's really it can be really stressful full-time streaming, because you're kind of like, this is like all that you do, so like any negative thought can just build and build and build, you know what I mean? And that's even during the most, like I said, literally the most successful time on Twitch I've ever had. I was still going through this phase of like, am I doing the right thing and all this stuff. And usually it only lasts me like a week or so, and I just push through it, and I get better or whatever, quote unquote. But I think one thing that people should realize is talking to their communities, the people that support them the most, and just kind of venting a little bit. Like, I'm not one for like spreading negativity and bringing other people down with me. Like, oh man, I'm depressed or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm going to just spew out negativity. I don't believe in that at all, which is why I don't talk to chat about it that often. But, explaining it in a way of just like letting them know like what's going on really did help me, to be honest. And my chat, was totally okay with it. Like, they were very supportive and everything. It's kind of weird for me to talk about this stuff because, like I said, I don't normally talk about this stuff publicly anyway. But I think that streamers should be able to talk to their communities, because there are really rough times with streaming. There's a lot of things that you kind of put on the line every day, and just being able to talk to your chat and the people that support you really, really does help. Because it was like almost the next day after I said something on stream that like I kind of felt a little bit like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. That's kind of like what I've been going through, and kind of something that I can kind of talk about. And I think other people should be able to do the same, because it's not always easy streaming on Twitch.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you talk about that, especially on this podcast, because I think that's something that a lot of people here watching and listening can relate to, and even on the panel here. I mean, Dwarrow, have you been through some of this kind of feeling yourself as a streamer?
For me, I guess the thing is, I put the eggs in various baskets, so it's not just Twitch, not just streaming. So, but you do feel the competitive edge and the pressure on this channel. You do feel that, even if you're, like in my case, I stream 4 times a week, and you do feel the kind of, even though you might be in various communities, you do feel that there's always this pressure, and this could lead to self-doubt. So you always need to kind of reflect and think, okay, what am I doing here? Is this beneficial for me? Is this content that other people will, be enjoying, et cetera, et cetera? And then if you set certain goals or things that you want to do, and then that content doesn't work out, that leads to, or it's not, the result is not what you wanted or hoped for, that definitely can lead to self-doubt. Absolutely. I've had the same thing where I've built up kind of like a contest, and which was helping out a charity, and that really didn't work out. And that was, that's in the end I've accepted that, but that was still disappointing, and then obviously that may lead to self-doubt. So plus on the thing as well as on streaming, you get a lot of people jumping into the chats that have problems psychologically, that that need somebody to talk to as well. So you've got that as well. You might not be in the ideal mindset to solve somebody else's problem, but still they come to you. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think also what Vel talked about, the fact that sometimes you feel pressure to maybe not talk about those things, or you don't want to like muddy your stream. I think that's true for a lot of people, and I think there's a good reason for that in terms of trying to keep your stream as a place where people can kind of escape from stuff. But then the flip side of that is sometimes you get stuck in a situation where you just can't get this stuff out there, and it just gets worse. So I think that it is important to talk about it at some point. Glock, have you been through feelings of self-doubt and just things that Vel mentioned there before?
First of all, Val, I love you, but
Too, man.
you know, self-doubt. I mean, I remember getting some feelings of that when I first started streaming, but one of the things I kind of had to, you know, sit there, and one of the best things I heard was, you know, if you just click on the little eyeball on the Streamlabs OBS, it just goes away. And that's kind of like how I got over it. And I never turned that thing back on because, yeah, I focus more on if someone's talking in my chat or not, rather than how many people are actually watching and stuff like that. But I absolutely did go through that for probably a couple of months when I first started, like trying to think like, what am I doing wrong? What am I, am I not, using social media right? Am I not, does my content suck? Do I suck? Things like that go through your head. It's like, and then eventually you realize it's not really what you can do about it. It's a long process, streaming. Absolutely, it's not as successful right overnight.
Right. Yeah. One thing I want to mention here too is I think it's healthy to have some self-doubt. Like the reason you have that is because you're always kind of asking yourself, how can I make this thing better? And that way it's really kind of a sign of humility. I mean, obviously you don't want it to consume you to the point where you have no confidence in what you're doing, but it is healthy to have that feeling of like, I'm not the best. What can I be doing better? How can I improve? What can I learn from other people? So I think it's with a good intention there. But like Vel said, just finding a way to get that out with someone is really important, I think, for the longevity of your stream. I think that's how you say that word. So Vel, I'm glad you mentioned that, man, because I think that'll help a lot of people who are listening who may feel like they're in the same spot. And you recommend talking to your community generally about that, like maybe in Discord or something outside of the stream?
I mean, I did it on stream just to kind of let them know. Like, you can do it in Discord, but I mean, you're kind of, opening yourself up a little bit, on stream, on camera, and everything. It's just kind of like right now, like I it's making me nervous talking about it, but at the same time, it's like pushing those limits for yourself kind of does help. Like expressing that vulnerability isn't something that I'm really used to, but it really does help. When you are kind of like down on yourself a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And like you could even do like we're doing right now, maybe kind of a different area to talk about it. Maybe you do it on YouTube or something, or a podcast, or some way that you can kind of talk with other people about it who are more receptive to it. I think that makes sense too. So thank you for bringing that up, dude. I appreciate that. We have a couple more questions to go through here. First one is from Iculus HFB. Says, I've been streaming for about 2 months and I've been having a hard time gaining new followers. I post and I'm active in social medias. What more can I do to get new followers? I'm on my way to affiliate and I've reached all the requirements besides the initial 50 followers. Thanks, Iculus. So what would you guys say for someone who's 2 months into streaming and feels like they're doing everything they should be with posting on socials, they're active, but just not getting a lot of followers right now? Vel, I'll throw this back to you first.
Grind. Like it takes time, man. It takes so much time on Twitch to get any sort of growth. And if you think you're doing the right thing, if you think your content's where it should be, if you think you're, all over social media as much as you should be, then it's just a matter of time before people start noticing. Like there's no tricks or anything that people do to get more followers. I mean, you can do follow for follow, but that's not going to be real. There's no trick for genuine growth. It's just grinding, doing your thing, and just putting out the best content that you can. And that's literally it. It's all a matter of time, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would also kind of question what exactly the being posting in social medias is. Like, what are you exactly doing there? Are you just throwing out a random tweet with a link to your stream? Or are you like actively engaging there? Are you making YouTube content, Instagram stuff? There's a whole lot of ways you can improve that. And then obviously, like Vel said, at the end of the day, you just got to stream and it just takes time. So those are good points. Dwarrow, do you have any other thoughts on growing as a new streamer?
Well, I guess apart from actively, streaming what you can in the time that you have, trying to be active in communities. I mean, there's loads of Discord channels out there. There was like one, I'm streaming, there's nothing but I'm going live messages, and that's it. Which, yeah, if that's the kind of socials you're active at, it's a waste of time, really, in my opinion. If you want to be active and learn, I don't know, the whole networking part of it is important, and I'm not saying that's needs to be your sole focus, not at all. But you need to talk to people and get to know people, and not just hop in their stream to say, hey, and I'm streaming too, and come watch my stream. That's not the idea. You need to be able to get to know people, and by getting to know people, you will actually get to know what streaming is like as well, and get more ideas about streaming. And that's it. Not necessarily for, okay, and this guy is going to give me 50 followers. That's not going to happen. Forget it. Let's just go into somebody's chat, get to know them, see if you like their stream. I mean, a big thing, in my opinion, about being a streamer is watching streams. And yeah, so it's not just about you. It's about joining a couple of networks and yeah, getting to know these people as well, which could lead to, other people checking out your channel, but not necessarily, but it could.
Yeah, and networking when you're starting out like that is so key, because it's a lot better to develop some close relationships with people that are going to last a long time, maybe just a few people, rather than just to throw out social posts to the universe and no one responds to any of it. And because when you're starting out, you just need those couple few people to be there, and like we say on here a lot, to treat them like gold and to just build really good friendships with them. And then once you have that initial base, it's a lot easier to kind of snowball off of that. And maybe you have 5 people in your chat. Then that's 5 people you can bounce ideas off of and try things out with. And then that turns into 10 people and then 20 people. And so, yeah, especially in the beginning, that stuff's huge. Networking and building those close friends. Glock, what are your thoughts for someone who's, kind of stuck 2 months in, not growing like they'd like to be?
Well, yeah, you gotta look at kind of like what you're doing. Like one big mistake I see a lot of people doing is like on Twitter, they throw their Twitter or their Twitch page out there with like 30 hashtags. And I see that all the time. I just scroll right past it, and then like you said, you're getting active in other communities or getting to know people and stuff like that. And then one thing with that, getting to know people, don't ever do anything for anybody expecting something in return. That's one of the biggest things that people, mistakes I see and complaints I hear that, I support these people, they don't support me. Don't ever do anything expecting anything in return. But it's about getting out there, interacting with people, getting to know them, even if it's just playing games with them or something like that. It's like Val said, it's a grind, dude. It's a hard grind. It takes time.
Yeah,
it takes a long time.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, 2 months, like on Twitch, like that's not that much time. And he says he's averaged between 3 to 5 viewers. He's honestly crushing it for 2 months. But 2 months, it might as well be a brand new channel. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but 2 months on Twitch I don't think it's enough time to justify or, think you're doing something wrong. I think there's still a lot of time to be put in to where you're like, to where you should be questioning what you're doing. Like I would say, like 5 or 6 months into it, like that's when like maybe you should start looking into something different. But 2 months, like you're still trying to get discovered on Twitch, and 3 to 5 viewers average within 2 months is awesome. Like I don't think I had that within 2 months. Yeah, and I think that there's an issue on Twitch with people comparing their channel to somebody else's. Don't ever compare. Like don't even look at the numbers of other channels or anything. Oh, well, this person grew this fast within this amount of time. It doesn't matter. Like none of it matters. Twitch can be so random sometimes, and if you spend too much time paying attention to other people's channels and then looking at your own, you're never going to have a good time doing that. Even if you're growing faster than somebody else, there's no specific reason for it. You know what I mean? I think that you just need to focus on doing what you're doing and grind it out. Don't pay attention to numbers on your channel or other channels, and just have fun, make content, and entertain people.
Yeah, one thing I'll add on here too is I think you can use this though as a good point to kind of take a moment. Like if you're 2 months into your stream, this is probably the first time where you realize you're hitting a wall, and now you're thinking more deeply about your stream. Because I think for a lot of people, they just start out, turn on a streaming a game they love, and gonna see what happens. And then now you're 2 months down the road, and you're realizing, okay, followers matter to me, viewers matter to me, and I'm not gaining them as fast as I'd like to. Why is that? So it might be like the first time that you actually think more deeply through your content in terms of, like, what am I really offering people? Why should people be following me in the first place? How are they finding me? Like, these are all the beginning questions you have to think of as a streamer that are really gonna be like the long term of your channel. Because now you're transitioning from someone who's just sort of doing it just to test it out, just as a hobby, into someone who's like more of a passionate hobbyist who maybe like you do want to think long term. Maybe you do want to kind of push this into, you want to really grow a channel for content on YouTube, or you want to build some sort of brand around yourself. I think you can use that as a really good time to just evaluate what you want to give to other people with your content. So I think it's good that you're having these questions, but like a lot of these guys have said, you don't want to get too wrapped up in the numbers, and 2 months is still very short. So even if you have like a really great strategy and a really great content that no one's doing, 2 months just probably isn't enough time to make that really grow into something. But I like I said, I think you should use that as a time to say, is what I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, something that people want and need, and something that I think is really valuable to people. So that's what I would say there. But thanks for the question, Iculus. If you follow questions, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, one thing I've seen Vel do before, and it actually is a really good thing, where someone followed him and he said, "Hey, thank you for the follow. How'd you find the stream today?" That's actually, it's very informative for, if you ask chat, how'd you find my stream? And then you kind of figure out where people are coming from and stuff like that. You can kind of build on that and work on that. That's, that was one first time I ever heard somebody say something like that, like, "Hey, how'd you find the stream?" It's like, I've never asked somebody how they found the stream. It's like, now they kind of made me think, like, how do people find my stream?
Man, I'm such a huge fan of that. Like, looking at the data of where people actually find you is so smart, because then you can just double down on it. Like, let's say you put out a YouTube video once a month, and then you find out maybe like 5 people found you from YouTube that month. Does that mean if I put out 4 videos that 20 people will find me now? So like, if you have a sense of what's kind of working, even if it's like 1 or 2 people, then you can kind of double down on that thing that's working, and potentially it could double your growth in that area. So I think that's really smart.
Plus, I think it's a change as well from asking, "Hey, how you doing?" It also opens another kind of spectrum there that you otherwise wouldn't have, perhaps.
Yeah, it gives you a talking point too, not just everyone else on Twitch asked me that same question, right? Stand out a little bit. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Iculus. All right, next question is, we have like maybe one question left here. Maxsense says, any thoughts on why there aren't more good podcasts / talk shows on Twitch? I am always surprised at how few good ones there are on Twitch. I don't know, there's not good shows on Twitch necessarily, but I don't know. What do you guys think about this in terms of like podcasts and talk shows on Twitch in general? Dwarrow, throw this to you on first.
There's not many I watch. Sometimes I browse and go into the podcast section to just check, something out. Mainly in, the areas that I'm interested in, and that's about it. It's not really my field of expertise, I got to tell you. So,
Gotcha. Glock, Val, do you guys have any thoughts on why you don't see a lot of podcasts and talk shows on Twitch?
I think that it's.
You go. Sorry.
You go.
I'm actually not, honestly, personally, I never looked into the podcast, part of Twitch, but it's something to look into. I mean, now that you said that, I'm probably gonna look at podcasts on there and check out the directory a little bit.
Right. Val, what do you think?
I think part of it is most of the people that are on podcasts are streamers themselves. So as much as they want to do, other content, they want to focus on their own channels a little bit more. And also there's a certain aspect of, doing a podcast. It's hard to talk to chat as much. It's hard to be as engaging, as the typical Twitch stream. If you're doing a podcast, like right now, like we can kind of talk to chat a little bit, but for the most part, we answer direct questions and then we talk amongst ourselves. And that's kind of just what a podcast is. And it's a little bit more difficult to break into just being a Twitch streamer on a podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay, I have a lot of thoughts about this. So first of all, Twitch is a gaming platform, a game streaming platform. It's not a talk show platform. There are podcasts and talk shows, but all three of you guys just said, I don't really watch podcasts on Twitch, right? That's the majority of people on Twitch. No one's watching podcasts on Twitch relative to everything else. I do think there's like somewhat of a market there, you could say. Like maybe you're an early person there and you can kind of get there before everyone else. But the reality is most live stream podcast talk shows are happening on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere that's like more traditional and less gaming centric. Second piece is, so this podcast we do once a week for 2 hours. So the chances that people find this podcast are very slim. And I think most talk shows have the same problem, right? Because it's harder to do a podcast like every single day for hours and hours and hours. Even like the Joe Rogan thing is like 3 hours a podcast compared to most streamers, like even daily, that's not that much compared to a lot of the top streamers. So that's not a big problem. I think there are probably plenty of good talk shows out there that you don't find them because discovery on Twitch is not great. Like there's not vodcasts of podcasts going around, like not VODs, I mean, going around the platform for you to just watch after the fact. So I think those are some of the big reasons why you don't see a lot of them, or they're out there, we just don't find them. And that's what I would say for that, pretty much.
I have a question for you, Greencord.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since you basically run this podcast, where do you see it doing the best? I see you put it on YouTube, it's on Spotify, iTunes,
yeah, sorry,
Twitch.
I was blanking on something there that I wanted to mention. The third piece of that is it's really hard to grow a podcast on Twitch specifically. Like if you guys listen to the show on iTunes and Spotify, that's like 90% of our people are listening to the show there. And that's why we really tailor the show for them, because it's just so much easier to find stuff on Spotify and iTunes. I mean, if you search for stream, or Twitch, our podcast is in like the top 3 or 2 in almost every platform. What do you search for on Twitch to find us? I mean, it goes back to the problem I mentioned earlier where people just aren't watching podcasts on Twitch. So it's very hard to grow a podcast consistently for viewership. And that's something that we've kind of been working with ourselves. I mean, there are examples of podcasts that do pretty well with live streaming out there. One thing I look at a lot is Joe Rogan, of course. He live streams his, but then like the H3 podcast did theirs pretty successfully for a while. But it's the same thing. Like you said, there's not chat interaction on those. They're just talking at each other for 2 hours and people are there commenting on it. But it's really tough to grow a new show when you're not interacting with the people watching it. So, and that's kind of actually where this podcast came from, because at least in this scenario, we can bring in calls and questions and make it a little bit interactive. Back when we did the interview shows, when it was just me and another person, that was really tough because I just don't talk to chat for an hour. It's like, what do you do in that situation? Why are you even watching it live? Just listen to it later. So these are all my thoughts on podcasting. And I do want to mention we actually probably will bring back the interview stuff soon. That's in the works. But anyway, podcasts are tough on Twitch. And I think that's why I don't see a lot of them there. But yeah. Any other thoughts on that, Glock? Or questions for that?
Oh, no. I was just going to ask, what do you think is the best platform for
the best
podcasting?
So, I mean, iTunes is the majority of our listeners most of the time, and iTunes has just been there forever. I mean, it's the podcast app comes installed in every single iPhone. Everybody's got it. Actually, they might have changed that, but it definitely did. And Spotify actually has kind of come up pretty big lately. A lot of the percentage of our listens are on Spotify now, so shout out to Spotify listeners. But those are the best ways to do a podcast, honestly. There's a lot of other platforms out there too that people use, like Castbox and Google Podcasts and Player FM. But if you're hitting iTunes and Spotify, I think those are the big boys that you definitely want to focus on. So, sorry, that was me ranting for a bit there. I get really passionate about podcast stuff. I think we're going to wrap up the show, guys. It is 12:58, so let's go ahead and kind of sign it off a little bit here. Dwarrow, where can people find you and what should they know about you?
You can head to twitch.tv/Dwarrow Scholar or just DwarrowScholar.com, and you'll find all the stuff there. I stream 4 times a week, but the schedule's on, obviously, twitch.tv/Dwarrow Scholar. So pop on in, say hello.
Gotcha.
Let's talk dwarves or anything else, really.
Mostly dwarves, though.
Mostly dwarves, though, yeah.
Glock 9, what do you want to say to people and where can they find you?
Basically, if you guys want to find me, I'm on every social. Glock 9, GL0CKN9NE, and I pretty much stream every day. So
Cool, man. Go find him there, guys, if you want to. Last but not least is Veli. What do you want to say?
You can find me VELOKK_TV on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, I guess, and Velox Space TV on YouTube for those meme videos.
I still don't think there's a space in your name, but
There might not be. I don't know.
that's impossible. Okay.
You're the YouTube guy, man.
Anyway, guys, again, I'm Green Cord. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, then hopefully you come back next week. We do this live every Friday here at 11 a.m. on the TRUgaming channel. Also, if you guys are listeners to the show, which most of you are, thank you for listening, and please consider leaving us a review if you want to let us know how we're doing on iTunes and Stitcher specifically. Maybe some more out there. And also, if you have a question, like Nadia did in the beginning, but you can't watch the live show for some reason, please just tweet at us at StreamKey or send us a message, join Discord. Always are good ways to just get a question asked in the show, and we'll talk through it on the panel. Love to have your questions in that way. That's it for us, though, guys. Thank you for coming out and watching, and we will see you guys next week for more good old StreamKey. And I'll let Velox say it this time.
Blaze up.
Blaze up.
Blaze up.
We're out.
Blaze up.